The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was huge. Its walls reached so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Hundreds of alien beings sat in rows that went up like steps. Each species had their own section. The humans sat in a small area near the back. Ambassador Kang Dae-ho stood at the center of the hall. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been talking to aliens for 20 years. He knew how to stay calm when others got angry. He knew how to find peace when others wanted war. Today he was here to talk about trade routes. Humans wanted to use some space lanes that went through the outer rim. These routes would help human ships carry goods faster and cheaper. It would help both humans and aliens make money. Dae-ho looked at his notes one more time. He had practiced this speech many times. He wanted everything to be perfect. The other humans were counting on him. The people back on Earth were counting on him. Honored members of the council, Dae-ho began. His voice was clear and strong. It carried well in the big hall. I come before you today to talk about trade, about working together, about making life better for all our peoples. Some aliens nodded, others looked bored. This was normal. The council meetings were often boring. Most decisions took months or years to make. But not everyone was bored. In the section marked for the hegemony, a large reptile creature was getting angry. His name was Veltar. He was the prime speaker for his people. The hegemony was a group of warrior races. They thought they were better than everyone else. Veltar stood up. He was twice as tall as Dae-ho. His scales were dark green and black. His yellow eyes glowed with hate. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. The hairless apes want to teach us about trade, Veltar said. His words were loud and mean. Your species learned to fly in space just 200 years ago. We have been traveling the stars for 10,000 years. The hall got quiet. Everyone could feel the tension. Dae-ho stayed calm. He had dealt with creatures like Veltar before. The key was to not get angry back. Honored Speaker Veltar, Dae-ho said. He bowed slightly to show respect. Humanity does not seek to teach anyone. We seek to learn. We seek to work together. The trade routes I speak of would help everyone. Human ships could carry goods from hegemony worlds to new markets. Hegemony ships could use our refueling stations. Veltar laughed. It was not a nice sound. Work together? With you? He looked around the hall. This creature thinks we are equals. This thing that cannot even breathe real air thinks it can bargain with us. Some other hegemony members laughed too, but many aliens in the hall looked uncomfortable. Even those who did not like humans thought Veltar was being too rude. Captain Lee Min-ho watched from the human embassy ship in orbit. The ship was called Soul's Pride. It was not a big ship or a strong ship. It was just meant to carry diplomats and their guards. Min-ho was watching the council meeting on a screen. All the important meetings were broadcast live. Min-ho did not like what he was seeing. Veltar was acting more angry than usual. Something felt wrong. Sir, said one of his officers, should we move closer to the station? Min-ho thought about it. No. We stay here, but keep the engines ready. Back in the council hall, Dae-ho was still trying to make peace. Speaker Veltar, I understand that the hegemony has concerns. Perhaps we could meet privately to discuss them. I am sure we can find a solution that works for everyone. Veltar's eyes got brighter. His hand moved to his belt. All hegemony warriors carried plasma weapons, even in the council hall. Even though weapons were supposed to be forbidden here. There is only one solution for your kind, Veltar said. You should have stayed on your little blue world. You should have never come to the stars. Admiral Park Ji-woo was on his flagship far away from Nexus Prime. The ship was called Incheon. It was the biggest and strongest ship in the human fleet. Park was in his office looking at reports when his aide rushed in. Admiral, the aide said, you need to see the council broadcast. Something is happening. Park looked at the screen. He saw Dae-ho standing calm and straight. He saw Veltar getting more angry. Park had fought in 3 wars. He knew the look of someone about to do violence. Get me a comm line to Captain Min-ho, Park ordered. On Luna base near Earth, Director Kim, So Young, was also watching. She ran human intelligence. She knew all of Earth's secrets. She had known Daeho since they were both young. They had worked together many times. She trusted him more than anyone. Kim saw Veltar reach for his weapon. She saw the hate in his yellow eyes. She knew what was about to happen, but she was too far away to stop it. "No," she whispered. In the council hall, Daeho saw Veltar's hand move. He knew he was in danger, but he did not run. He did not call for help. He was a diplomat. His job was to talk, not fight. "Speaker Veltar," Daeho said, "violence will not solve anything. Let us talk as civilized beings." "Civilized?" Veltar pulled out his plasma pistol. The weapon hummed with deadly energy. "You want civilized?" Some aliens gasped. Others moved away. The hegemony guards did nothing to stop their leader. They smiled. Veltar pointed the weapon at Daeho's chest. "Let me show you how civilized species deal with pests." The plasma bolt was bright blue-white. It made no sound as it flew across the hall. It hit Daeho in the center of his chest. The energy burned through his clothes, through his skin, through his heart. Daeho looked surprised for just a moment. Then he fell to the floor. His blood was bright red on the white stone dot. The hall was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Veltar looked down at the dead human. "Let this be a lesson to all of you. The hegemony does not negotiate with inferior species. We do not trade with animals. We do not share space with vermin." On Seoul's Pride, Captain Minho stared at his screen. He could not believe what he had seen. Ambassador Daeho was dead, murdered in cold blood, in the council hall, in front of hundreds of witnesses. "Sir," his officer said quietly. "Orders?" Minho's hands shook with rage. But he was a good officer. He followed rules. "We do nothing. We report to Earth. We wait for orders." Admiral Park saw it happen too. His aide was crying. Park felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Daeho had been a good man, a peaceful man, a man who had never hurt anyone. "Get me President Yoon," Park said. His voice was very quiet. On Luna Base, Director Kim stood up slowly. She had seen many terrible things in her job, but this was different. This was personal. Daeho had been her friend, her mentor, almost like a father to her. She wiped her eyes, then she began typing orders on her computer. There were calls to make, plans to set in motion, intelligence networks. To activate. In the council hall, some aliens were starting to speak up. They said this was wrong. They said there should be punishment. But the hegemony guards were already escorting Veltar away. He was not arrested. He was not charged with any crime. The council president called for order. He said there would be an investigation. He said justice would be done. But everyone knew these were empty words. The hegemony was too strong, too important. They would not punish Veltar for killing a human. The meeting ended early. Aliens filed out of the hall. Most looked uncomfortable. Some looked scared. A few looked pleased. Daeho's body lay alone on the white stone floor. His blood had stopped flowing. His eyes stared at the ceiling. He could no longer see. The message was sent across the galaxy within hours. Every human colony got the news. Every human ship received the broadcast. Ambassador Kang Daeho was dead, murdered by Veltar of the hegemony, for the crime of being human. The galaxy expected humans to be sad, to complain, to ask for justice that would never come. They expected humans to accept their place as a weak species, a species that could be bullied and killed without consequence. They were wrong about what humans would do. They were very wrong. 3 months had passed since Daeho died. The Galactic Council held many meetings about it. They talked and talked. In the end, they gave the hegemony a formal scolding. It was just words on paper. It meant nothing. Veltar was not punished. Instead, his people promoted him. He was now supreme war leader of the hegemony. The aliens who killed humans got rewarded for it. Most of the galaxy forgot about the dead human ambassador. There were other things to worry about. Trade wars, border disputes, new planets to explore. The death of one human seemed small compared to all that. But humans did not forget. President Yoon Jae-sung sat in his office on New Seoul, the capital world of human space. He was looking at reports from across human territory. Every human colony, every human station, every human ship had the same message. They wanted justice for Daeho. They wanted the hegemony to pay. Yoon called a meeting of the Human Colonial Assembly. Leaders from every human world came. They filled the Great Hall on New Seoul. The meeting was broadcast to every human settlement in the galaxy. Yoon stood at the podium. He was not a tall man, but when he spoke, everyone listened. His voice was calm but hard as steel. 3 months ago they murdered our ambassador, he said. Daeho was a good man, a peaceful man. He wanted to build bridges between species. They killed him for it. The hall was silent. Every human was listening. We tried diplomacy. We offered friendship. We extended our hand in peace. Yoon paused. They answered with murder. He looked around the hall, at faces filled with anger and sadness. The galaxy thinks we will do nothing. They think we will accept this. They think we are weak. His voice got harder. They are wrong. The speech was short. Yoon did not tell them what would happen next. He did not make threats or promises, but every human watching understood. There would be a response, and it would not be diplomatic. After the broadcast ended, the real work began. General Choi Byung-ho ran human special operations. His office was deep underground on Earth. Most people did not know it existed. Choi had been planning for 3 months. Now it was time to act. He called his best officers to a secret meeting. The room had no windows. The walls blocked all signals. What was said here would stay here. Operation Justice begins now, Choi said. He pressed a button. Star maps appeared on the walls. They showed hegemony space in detail. We have been watching them for months. We know where their fleets are, we know where their bases are, we know their weaknesses. Commander Baek Dong-wook leaned forward. He ran the stealth reconnaissance missions. His ships were invisible to most sensors. For 3 months they had been mapping hegemony territory. They are overconfident, Baek reported. They think no one would dare attack them. Their defenses are weak, their ships are old, they have not fought a real war in 50 years. Dr. Nam Hye-jin was also at the meeting. She was humanity's top expert on alien biology. She had been studying hegemony physiology, learning how their bodies worked, learning how they could be stopped. I have developed several compounds, she said quietly. Each one targets specific hegemony biology. They are completely undetectable by their medical scanners. Engineer Oh Seung-min had been working on weapons. Not just any weapons. Weapons designed specifically to fight the hegemony. Weapons that used their own technology. Against them, their shields work by deflecting energy, he explained. So we built weapons that phase through energy barriers. Their sensors detect traditional metals. So we use materials they cannot see. Their communications use quantum encryption. We have learned to break it. Admiral Park Ji-woo listened to all the reports. As head of the human military, the final decision was his. How long before we are ready? The fleets are already moving into position, Choi answered. They look like normal patrol routes and trade missions. No one suspects anything. We can begin the operation on your word. Park nodded. Continue preparations. I will speak with the president. While the military planned, other humans were busy too. Director Kim So-young had not slept well since watching Daeho die. She ran human intelligence from Luna Base. Her job was to know everything that happened in the galaxy. Right now, she was learning everything about the hegemony. Her agents were everywhere. Some worked as traders in hegemony space. Others were servants in hegemony homes. A few had even joined hegemony military units as hired help. They all sent information back to Kim. The hegemony has enemies, her deputy reported. Many species hate them. They have been bullies for centuries, but no one has been strong enough to fight back. What about allies? Kim asked. Few real friends. Most species work with them because they are afraid. If the hegemony looked weak, many would turn. Against them. Kim smiled. It was not a nice smile. Then we will make them look weak. Captain Lee Min-ho was still angry. He had watched Dae-ho die and done nothing to stop it. Now his ship Soul's Pride was docked at a human station near the border. Officially, it was getting repairs. Really, it was being upgraded. The new weapons were small. They looked like normal ship equipment, but they could punch through hegemony shields like paper. The new engines were faster and quieter. The new computers could hack hegemony systems. When do we leave? Min-ho asked the technicians. 2 more days, they answered. Then you will be ready for anything. All across human space, similar work was happening. Trade ships were secretly turned into warships. Civilian stations became military bases. Mining platforms became weapons factories. But it was all hidden. To outside observers, humans seemed normal. They still traded with aliens. They still attended council meetings. They acted like nothing had changed. Ambassador Wang In-suk had replaced Dae-ho at the council. She was very different from him. Where he had been warm and friendly, she was cold and professional. Where he had tried to make friends, she simply did her job. The aliens noticed the change. Human diplomats were less helpful now, less eager to please. They still followed all the rules, but they did not go beyond what was required. The humans seemed different. Some aliens whispered. Sadder, more distant. They thought humans were grieving. They were partly right, but they did not understand what kind of grief could drive humans to action. On the hegemony homeworld, Veltar was enjoying his new power. As supreme war leader, he commanded all hegemony military forces. He was planning new conquests, new worlds to take, new species to enslave. He had forgotten about the human he killed. It had been a small thing, meaningless. Humans were weak. They would do nothing to avenge their dead diplomat. His intelligence officers agreed. Human military activity is normal, they reported. Some increase in patrol frequency, but that is expected after the incident. No signs of aggression. Veltar was pleased. Good. Begin preparations for the assault on the Rim colonies. Those mining worlds will make excellent slave planets. He did not know that human agents heard every word he said. He did not know that his own communication systems had been compromised months ago. He did not know that everything he planned was being reported to Earth. Dr. Nam finished her work in the secret laboratory. The compounds were ready. Each one was designed for a specific target. Some would kill quickly and silently. Others would cause fear and confusion. All were undetectable. She handed the sealed containers to General Choi. Use them carefully, she said. Once the hegemony knows these exist, they will develop countermeasures. We will only need to use them once, Choi replied. The final pieces were falling into place. Human fleets had moved to their starting positions. They looked like normal patrols and trade convoys. Even human crews did not know the full plan. Only the commanders knew what was coming. President Yoon met with his top advisors one last time. They gathered in the secure room beneath the Capitol building, the room where humanity's most important decisions were made. Are we ready? Yoon asked. Admiral Park nodded. All fleets are in position. All targets are confirmed. We can begin on your order. General Choi agreed. Special operations teams are ready. Intelligence networks are active. We have assets in place throughout hegemony. Space, Director Kim added her report. Alien reactions are calculated. Most species will not interfere. Some may even support us quietly. Yoon looked at each of them. These were good people. People who wanted peace. But sometimes peace had to be fought for. Tomorrow is the anniversary, Yoon said quietly. 1 year since they killed Dae-ho. The room was silent. Everyone remembered that day. Everyone remembered watching a good man die for no reason. Begin the operation at 0800 Standard Time, Yoon ordered. Let them learn what happens when you murder a human diplomat. Across the galaxy, humans made final preparations. Weapons were checked. Coordinates were confirmed. Messages were recorded for broadcast after the attack. The hegemony slept peacefully. That night, their leaders dreamed of conquest and glory. Their people felt safe behind their mighty fleets and strong defenses. They had no idea what was coming. In a few hours, the galaxy would learn that humans remembered their dead. And that, human justice, when it finally came, was swift and terrible. The age of taking humanity lightly was about to end. The attack began exactly 1 year after Deho died. At 0800 Standard Galactic Time, space around 12 hegemony worlds suddenly filled with human ships. They appeared without warning. One moment, the space was empty. The next moment, hundreds of human vessels materialized from quantum tunnels. But these were not the small, weak ships the galaxy knew. These were something new. The ships were sleek and angular. Their hulls seemed to bend light around them, making them hard to see clearly. They moved like predators, fast and silent. Their weapons glowed with deadly energy. Fleet Admiral Huang Su-jin commanded the human armada from her flagship. She had been planning this day for months. Every detail had been worked out. Every possible problem had been solved. All fleets report ready, her communications officer announced. Su-jin looked at the tactical display. 12 red dots marked hegemony worlds. Around each dot, green symbols showed human ships in position. Begin Operation Justice, she ordered. On the hegemony capital world of Skarmoth, Supreme War Leader Veltar was in his command center. He was studying plans for his next conquest when alarms began screaming. "What is happening?" he roared at his officers. "Energy signatures detected. In orbit," an aide stammered. "Massive ones, unknown configuration." Veltar looked at the main screen. It showed space around his world. Where moments ago there had been only his defensive platforms, now there were ships. Dozens of them. "What species?" Veltar demanded. "Who dares attack the hegemony homeworld?" The sensor officer was pale with fear. "The ships. They match no known configurations. But the quantum signatures, they are human." Veltar laughed. It was a harsh, ugly sound. "Humans. The weak mammals think they can fight us? Activate all defenses, destroy them." But his laughter stopped when the first defense platform exploded. Captain Shin Woo-jin of the human ship Busan Fury watched the orbital fortress die. The massive structure had shields that could stop any known weapon, but human weapons were not known. They phased through energy barriers like they did not exist. "Target destroyed," his weapons officer reported. "Moving to next target." All around Skarmoth, the same thing was happening. Hegemony defense platforms exploded one by one. Their shields were useless. Their armor meant nothing. The human weapons cut through them like hot knives through paper. But this was not random destruction. Colonel Lim Yuna led the targeting teams. She had studied hegemony military doctrine for months. She knew which targets mattered and which did not. Communications center destroyed. Naval Academy eliminated. Weapons factory neutralized. Came the reports. Each strike was precise. Military targets died, but civilian areas were untouched. Schools, hospitals, homes, all were left alone. The message was clear. This was not about killing innocents. This was about justice. On 11 other hegemony worlds, the same scenario played out. Human fleets appeared without warning. Defenses crumbled in minutes. Military installations burned. Commander Bayek Dong-wook led the strike on Velkanos, a major hegemony military base. His stealth ships had mapped every building months ago. Now, they used that knowledge to surgical effect. Barracks destroyed, armory eliminated, command bunker neutralized. His officers reported. The base that had trained hegemony warriors for centuries was reduced to smoking ruins in less than an hour. But the humans were not done. As the military strikes continued, something else was happening. Every hegemony communication channel suddenly carried the same message. It was a recording of President Yoon. His face appeared on every screen, his voice spoke from every speaker. The message was simple and clear. 1 year ago you murdered our ambassador. Daeho was a man of peace. He came to you in friendship. You killed him in cold blood. The image changed to show Daeho's death, the plasma bolt hitting him, his body falling to the floor, Veltar standing over him with satisfaction. You thought there would be no consequences. You thought humans were too weak to respond. You were wrong. The scene changed again. Now it showed the burning remains of hegemony military bases, ships exploding in orbit, warriors running in panic. We remember our dead. We do not forget. We do not forgive unpunished murder. The message ended with coordinates, 12 sets of numbers that marked the locations of the attacks. This is what justice looks like. This is what happens when you kill a human diplomat. Across hegemony space, people watched in shock. Some were afraid, others were angry, but all understood the message. Humans were no longer prey. Admiral Park. Jiwoo coordinated the entire operation from Earth. Reports came in from all 12 strike forces. Every mission was successful. Every target was destroyed. And most importantly, civilian casualties were minimal. Phase 1 complete, he reported to President Yoon. All military objectives achieved. Enemy defensive capabilities neutralized. Yoon nodded. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was withdrawal. As suddenly as they had appeared, the human fleets began to vanish. Ships faded back into quantum tunnels. In minutes, the space around hegemony worlds was empty again. But the damage was done. 12 worlds sat crippled. Their military power was broken. Their defenses were gone. And everyone in the galaxy had seen it happen. On Skarmoth, Veltar stood in his ruined command center. Half his staff was dead. His orbital defenses were scrap metal. His ground forces were in chaos. How many ships did we lose? He asked his surviving aide. None, sir. They did not target our fleets. Veltar was confused. None? Then why did they not finish us? The aide was quiet for a moment. Sir, I think they were sending a message. The message was received across the galaxy. News of the attacks spread quickly. Every species heard about the human strikes. Everyone saw the recordings of burning hegemony bases. The reaction was not what the hegemony expected. Ambassador Wang In-suk was in her office when the first reports came in. Her communication system was flooded with calls from other diplomats. Some were angry. Others were curious. Many were pleased. The Crystalline Confederacy wishes to express concern about human aggression, came one message. Wang replied coldly. The Confederacy may express concern about hegemony aggression against diplomats. Our response was proportionate. Another message. The Bio Collective finds human precision impressive. Wang almost smiled at that one. The Bio Collective respected efficiency. They had noticed that humans could have destroyed the worlds completely, but chose not to. Director Kim So-young was monitoring alien communications from Luna Base. Her agents across the galaxy were reporting reactions from every species. Most governments are staying neutral, her deputy reported. But private communications tell a different story. Many species are pleased to see the hegemony taken down. What about military responses? Kim asked. None so far. Even hegemony allies are hesitant to act. They are reassessing human capabilities. This was the real victory. For decades, humans had been seen as weak, small, ignorable. Now every species in the galaxy was recalculating. If humans could cripple the mighty hegemony in one day, what else could they do? On the human colony of New Busan, people gathered in the streets to watch the news. They cheered when they saw hegemony bases burning. They wept when they saw Daeho's memorial on the broadcast. Justice for Daeho, they chanted. Remember the ambassador. Similar scenes played out across human space. Every colony, every station, every ship celebrated. Not because they loved war, but because finally, someone had stood up to the bullies. Captain. Lee Min-ho watched from Seoul's Pride, still orbiting Nexus Prime, the same station where Daeho had been murdered. The irony was not lost on him. Sir, his communications officer called. We are receiving a message from the Galactic Council. They are calling an emergency session. Minho smiled grimly. Let them talk. We have said what needed to be said. The emergency session was chaos. Alien delegates shouted at each other. Some demanded punishment for humans. Others called for investigation of hegemony crimes. The session lasted for hours, but accomplished nothing. Through it all, Ambassador Wang sat calmly. When finally asked to speak, she stood and addressed the assembly. 1 year ago in this very building, you watched a human diplomat be murdered in cold blood. You did nothing. Today, humans took action. We did what you should have done. The hall erupted in arguments again. Wang let them shout for a moment, then raised her voice. The age of casual cruelty is over. The time when species could murder diplomats without consequence has ended. We have made this clear. She gathered her documents and prepared to leave. But before she walked out, she turned back to the assembly. We did not come to rule. We came to civilize, remember that. As news of the attack spread, something else began to happen. Species that had been oppressed by the hegemony began to find their voice. Worlds that had been conquered started to rebel. The hegemony's grip on their empire was loosening. Dr. Nam Hae-jin received reports from her research stations. The special compounds she had developed were not needed for this operation, but they were ready if required later. The biological weapons worked perfectly in tests, she reported to General Choi. But I am glad we did not need them today. Choi nodded. Sometimes the threat of a weapon is more powerful than its use. Engineer Oh Seung-min was already working on improvements to the human fleet. The phase weapons had performed well, but they could be better. The stealth systems had worked perfectly, but they could be enhanced. The attacks had been over for only 6 hours when Veltar sent his message to the galaxy. It was a call for help, a demand that all species unite against human aggression. The mammals have committed an act of war, his broadcast declared. They have attacked peaceful hegemony worlds without provocation. All civilized species must respond to this threat. But the response was not what he expected. The Crystalline Confederacy sent a polite reply. They expressed concern about the violence, but noted their extensive trade agreements with humanity. They could not risk those relationships. The Bio Collective sent an even shorter message. They found the human surgical strikes aesthetically pleasing and would not interfere with such elegant work. The machine synthesis, normally allies of the hegemony, sent only automated responses. Their calculations showed that supporting the hegemony now carried too much risk. Even the Void Princes, the hegemony's closest partners, were silent. They were busy calculating how this changed the balance of power in the galaxy. High Chancellor Zolpak of the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting within hours of the attacks. His message to Ambassador Wang In-suk was harsh and demanding. Your species will answer for this aggression immediately, the message read. Present yourself to the Council for judgment. Wang read the message calmly. She was in her office on the human embassy station. Through her window she could see the great council hall where Daeho had died. Prepare my transport, she told her aide. It seems the council wants to talk. When Wang entered the council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Hundreds of alien delegates filled the seats. Many looked angry. Others seemed worried. A few appeared, almost pleased. Zol. Pak stood at the center podium. He was a tall, thin creature with multiple arms and eyes that glowed purple. He had run the council for 50 years and was used to being respected. Ambassador Wang, he began, his voice echoing in the great hall. Your species stands accused of the most serious crime in galactic law, unprovoked aggression against member worlds. Wang walked slowly to the speaker's platform. She moved with confidence, showing no fear or regret. When she reached the center, she turned to face the assembly. Unprovoked, she said. Her voice was clear and cold. 1 year ago in this very chamber, you watched a hegemony leader murder my predecessor. What did you do about it? The hall grew quiet. Everyone remembered that day. They had all seen Daeho die. You gave them a formal censure, Wang continued. A piece of paper, Words with no meaning. The murderer was promoted instead of punished. Zolpak's eyes flashed brighter. That does not justify your actions. You attacked 12 worlds. You destroyed military installations. You killed thousands of personnel. We destroyed military targets, Wang corrected. We avoided civilian areas. We gave medical aid to survivors. Compare that to what your allies do when they conquer worlds. Some delegates began whispering among themselves. They knew Wang was right. The hegemony showed no mercy to civilian populations. The scale of your attack was unprecedented. Another delegate called out. This one was from the Traders Union. No species has ever launched such a coordinated strike. Wang looked directly at the speaker. No species has ever murdered a human diplomat and escaped justice. We simply corrected that oversight. You could have destroyed those worlds completely, came a voice from the back. This delegate sounded almost impressed. Yes, Wang agreed. We could have. We chose not to. That should tell you something about human intentions. Zolpak tried to regain control. Your intentions do not matter. Your actions violated galactic law. There must be consequences. Wang smiled. It was not a warm expression. Consequences? Like the consequences for murdering diplomats? We saw how well your justice system works. The debate continued for hours. Delegate after delegate stood to speak. Some condemned the human attacks. Others questioned why the hegemony had never been punished for its crimes. But while the politicians argued, something else was happening across the galaxy. Admiral Park Jiwoo received reports from human intelligence networks. The news was better than he had hoped. 17 hegemony client worlds have declared independence, Director Kim So-young reported from Luna Base. 3 more are in open rebellion. Their empire is fracturing. What about their military response? Park asked. Minimal so far. They are pulling forces back to defend core worlds. They seem afraid of more human attacks. This was exactly what Park had hoped for. The hegemony ruled through fear. Once that fear was broken, their subjects would revolt. On the former hegemony world of Kethva, the local population had overthrown their occupiers within hours of the human attacks. The planet's native species, the Kethans, had been slaves for decades. The humans have shown us it can be done, their new leader broadcast. If they can hurt the mighty hegemony, so can we. Similar uprisings began across hegemony space. Worlds that had been conquered generations ago remembered their freedom. Species that had been enslaved found their courage. Captain Lee Min-ho watched it all from Seoul's Pride. His ship had been ordered to remain near Nexus Prime, not to threaten anyone, but to observe. To be a reminder that humans were watching. Sir, his communications officer reported. We are receiving signals from resistance movements on 43 worlds. They are asking for human support. Min-ho considered this. Send them medical supplies and communication equipment. Nothing that could be considered weapons, but let them know humans support their freedom. President Yoon had been clear about this. Humans would not conquer the hegemony's former territories, but they would help those who wanted to be free. The most important reaction came from an unexpected source. Fleet Admiral Zarketh was the hegemony's top military commander. Unlike Veltar, he was a professional soldier, not a politician. Keth had studied the human attacks carefully. He understood what had happened better than most. The humans had not simply gotten lucky. They had planned and executed a perfect military operation. He sent a private message to Veltar, marked for highest security. Supreme Leader, we must negotiate with the humans immediately. Their military capabilities exceed our estimates by several magnitudes. Continued aggression will result in the total destruction of our forces. Veltar's reply was furious. We do not negotiate with animals. Double our defenses. Triple our patrols. The mammals must be crushed. Zarketh deleted both messages. Then he began making his own plans. Meanwhile, Kama Vice Admiral Yu Chang-min was leading a very different kind of fleet. His ships carried no weapons, only medical supplies and food. They were approaching hegemony worlds that had been attacked. This is the human relief fleet, he broadcast on all frequencies. We offer medical aid to any who need it. We make no distinction between military and civilian casualties. The response was mixed. Some hegemony commanders ordered him to leave. Others, desperate to help their wounded, allowed the human ships to dock. On Velkanos, the world commander Bayek had attacked. Thousands of hegemony personnel had been injured when their bases exploded. Hugh's medical teams worked alongside hegemony doctors to save lives. "Why are you helping us?" A wounded hegemony officer asked human medic Dr. Park Haiwan. "We are your enemies." Dr. Park looked up from bandaging the officer's arm. "You are injured. That makes you my patient. Politics can wait." This small act of mercy was recorded and broadcast across the galaxy. It showed something many aliens had never seen before. Humans could be both fierce warriors and compassionate healers. Intelligence Officer Seo Tai-Yang was orchestrating a different kind of campaign. For months, his teams had been gathering evidence of hegemony war crimes. Now they released it all at once. Documents flooded the galactic media. Videos of hegemony forces destroying civilian targets. Records of slave camps and forced labor. Lists of species driven to extinction. "The galaxy needs to see who they are dealing with," Seo explained to his team. "Let every species know what the hegemony really is." The revelations shocked many worlds. Species that had remained neutral began to reconsider. Some started cutting trade ties with the hegemony. Others offered quiet support to human efforts. But the most significant change was happening within the hegemony itself. On the core world of Skarmoth, riots had broken out in the capital city. Not among conquered peoples, but among the hegemony's own population. They were tired of endless wars. Tired of being ruled by warmongers like Veltar. "End the madness," the protesters chanted. "No more war, no more death." Veltar ordered troops to crush the riots, but many soldiers refused. They had seen what happened to their bases and fleets. They knew humans could strike again at any time. Fleet. Admiral Zarketh made his move 3 days after the human attacks. He contacted Admiral Park directly, using secret communication channels. "I wish to discuss terms," his message said simply. Park brought the message to President Yoon immediately. They met in the secure room beneath the Capitol building. "What do you think?" Yoon asked. "It could be a trap," Admiral Park replied. "But Zarketh is known as an honorable soldier. Unlike Veltar, he cares about his people more than his glory." "Set up the meeting," Yoon decided. "But keep it secret. Let them make the first move toward peace." The meeting was arranged for a neutral location, a small space station on the border between human and hegemony territory. Only a few people knew it was happening. 6 months had passed since the human strikes. The galaxy looked very different now. Vel quote, "Tar was found dead in his private chambers on a quiet morning. The hegemony's official statement said he died of natural causes, a heart attack brought on by stress." Only a few people knew the truth. Agent Moon Sang-ho had entered the heavily guarded compound 3 days earlier. He carried with him a small vial of Dr. Nam's special compound. The substance was completely undetectable by hegemony medical scanners. It caused heart failure that looked completely natural. Moon left no trace of his presence. Security cameras showed nothing unusual. Guards reported no problems. Veltar simply went to sleep and never woke up. "Target eliminated," Moon reported to Director Kim on Luna Base. "No evidence of foul play will be found." Kim nodded with satisfaction. Justice for Daeho was not complete, but it was closer. The hegemony government was in chaos after Veltar's death. Different factions fought for control. Some wanted to continue the war against humans. Others called for peace. Fleet Admiral Zarketh made his move quickly. With the support of moderate military commanders and civilian leaders, he took control of the hegemony government. His first act was to send a message to President Yoon. "The hegemony seeks peace with humanity," the message said. "We offer full reparations for the murder of Ambassador Daeho. We offer the arrest of all those responsible. We offer a new beginning between our peoples." But President Yoon had other ideas. He met with his advisors in the secure room beneath the Capitol. Admiral Park, Director Kim, General Choi, and Ambassador Wang were all present. They offer peace, Yoon said, reading Zarketh's message aloud. They offer reparations. They offer justice. That is what we wanted, Admiral Park pointed out. Yoon set down the message and looked at each of his advisors. Is it? Is that really all we wanted? Director Kim understood first. You want more than justice for one murder. You want to change the entire system. Exactly, Yoon confirmed. For too long, the galaxy has operated under the rule of the strong. Might makes right. The powerful can kill the weak without consequence. He stood and walked to the star map on the wall. It showed the galaxy as it was 6 months ago. Hegemony territory in red, human space in blue, neutral zones in white. We have proven that humans are not weak. But that is not enough. We must prove that strength should serve justice, not replace it. Ambassador Wang smiled. She understood what the president was planning. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to civilize it. The new Galactic Council session was unlike any before it. The Great Hall was packed with delegates from species across the galaxy. But the arrangement was different now. Ambassador Wang no longer sat in the small human section at the back. She sat at the high table, in one of the seats reserved for major powers. Beside her sat representatives from the Coalition of Free Worlds, former hegemony territories that had joined together under human protection. Tsar, Keth himself was present, representing the new hegemony government. He looked uncomfortable in the diplomatic setting. He was a soldier, not a politician. High Chancellor Zolpak called the session to order, but everyone knew the real power in the room had shifted. The Council recognizes Ambassador Wang of the Human Coalition, Zolpak announced. Wang stood slowly. She looked around the hall at faces that had once dismissed her species as insignificant. Now they watched her with respect and fear. Honored delegates, she began. The galaxy has operated under certain assumptions for thousands of years. That might makes right. That the strong can abuse the weak without consequence. That murder is just politics when it serves the powerful. She gestured toward the memorial statue that had been placed where Daeho died. The figure of the dead ambassador stood as a reminder of what had changed. We are here to correct those assumptions. Her speech outlined a new vision for galactic civilization. The diplomatic protection accords would guarantee the safety of all ambassadors. The Coalition Defense Treaty would protect weak species from aggressive neighbors. The Galactic Justice Code would ensure that war crimes were punished regardless of who committed them. Some will say these changes go too far, Wang continued, that they upset the natural order, but there is nothing natural about murder. Nothing orderly about cruelty. Nothing civilized about letting the strong prey on the weak. When she finished speaking, the hall was silent. Then, slowly, delegates began to voice their support. Not all of them. Some species still preferred the old ways, but enough to matter. The vote was close, but the measures passed. The galaxy would have new laws, new protections, new consequences for those who chose violence over diplomacy. Fleet Admiral Park Mi-young now commanded more than just human forces. The Coalition Navy included ships from dozens of species that had thrown off hegemony rule. They patrolled trade routes, protected diplomatic missions, and responded to calls for help from oppressed populations. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we are receiving a distress call from the Keth system. Pirate raids against civilian targets. Dispatch the 4th Squadron, Park ordered. Show them what happens to those who prey on the innocent. The pirates learned quickly. Coalition forces did not negotiate with those who attacked civilians. They did not offer mercy to slavers and murderers. The galaxy's predators found themselves becoming prey. Colonel Han Juwan led the new diplomatic protection force. His teams were the most elite soldiers from a dozen species. Their mission was simple: ensure that no diplomat would ever again die like Daeho. Every embassy, every consulate, every diplomatic mission, Han told his officers. They are under our protection. Anyone who threatens them answers to us. The DPF had already prevented 3 assassination attempts and stopped 2 terrorist attacks. The message was clear. Diplomats were off-limits. But the real change was happening in the hearts and minds of galactic citizens. On worlds across the galaxy. Children learned new lessons in school. They learned about the human ambassador who died trying to make peace. They learned about the justice that followed. They learned that good people would not stand by while evil triumphed. Dr. Nam Hyejin had converted her weapons research into medical research. The compounds that could have killed now saved lives. The knowledge of alien biology that could have been used for war now served healing. We could have poisoned their water supplies, she told her research team. We could have created plagues that would have wiped them out. Instead, we chose precision, we chose justice over genocide. Engineer Oh Seung-min shared human technology with coalition partners. Not weapons technology, that remained secret. But power systems, communication networks, medical equipment, things that improved life for everyone. Technology should serve all people, he explained to alien engineers eager to learn. Not just the strong, not just the rich. Everyone deserves the benefits of progress. The hegemony itself was changing too. Under Zarketh's leadership, they had released their slaves and granted independence to conquered worlds. It was not easy. Many hegemony citizens resented losing their empire, but Zarketh knew it was necessary for survival. The humans could have destroyed us completely, he told his military commanders. Instead, they offered us a chance to change. We will take that chance. Some hegemony hardliners tried to resist. They attempted a coup against Zarketh 6 months into his rule. But coalition intelligence networks detected the plot early. Agent Moon Sang-ho eliminated the coup leaders with the same precision he had used on Veltar. The conspiracy collapsed without ever threatening the new government. The old ways are dead, Zarketh announced after the failed coup. Anyone who tries to return to them will join Veltar in the grave. President Yoon made a historic visit to the hegemony capital 1 year after the human strikes. He came not as a conqueror, but as a partner in building a better galaxy. The ceremony took place in the same hall where Veltar had once planned conquests. Now it hosted a signing ceremony for the Galactic Peace Accords. 1 year ago we struck 12 worlds, Yoon said to the assembled leaders. Today we build connections with 100 worlds. This is the path we choose. Not destruction, but construction. Not conquest, but cooperation. Zarketh signed for the hegemony. His hand shook slightly as he wrote his name, but his voice was strong. The hegemony formally apologizes for the murder of Ambassador Dae-ho, he declared. We accept full responsibility. We pledge that such crimes will never happen again. The two leaders shook hands, human and hegemony, former enemies now working toward peace. But the most important moment came later, in a quiet ceremony at the memorial statue of Dae-ho. Representatives from every species in the coalition gathered to honor the man whose death had changed everything. Ambassador Wang placed a wreath at the base of the statue. The inscription was simple but powerful. Justice delayed is not justice. Denied. Director Kim stood beside her, thinking of her old friend. He would have been proud, she said quietly. Not of the war, but of the peace that followed. He always believed in the better angels of our nature, Wang replied. He would be pleased to know his death served life. Children from dozens of species brought flowers to the memorial. Human children stood beside hegemony youth, coalition kids next to former enemies. They had learned about Dae-ho in school, not as a human hero, but as a galactic symbol of peace and justice.